it now with Democratic Congressman and Chair of the House Intel Committee, Adam Schiff. Congressman, thank you so much. Appreciate you joining us. Good evening. A lot to get to on Afghanistan, but I want to start with the Select Committee investigating January 6th. You're on that committee. Congressman Benny Thompson, the committee's chair, confirming to CNN that he wants telecom companies to preserve phone records of several people, including members of Congress. We know that Kevin McCarthy, Jim Jordan, spoke with Trump on January 6th. Whose records do you want to see?
Well, I'm going to leave it, as you might imagine, to the chairman to make those disclosures public or in a formal announcement. But I can tell you this, we intend to be very thorough. We want to know exactly what took place before January 6th that led to that tragic day and the violence of that day. Anyone who was involved, anyone who had foreknowledge of who would be assembling on that mall or the violence that was to come, anyone who funded it, what the White House was doing, people in the administration, what they were aware of and when, why we weren't reinforced in the Capitol, why it took so many hours to send the National Guard. So we want answers to all these questions, and we're not afraid to ask them of anyone. And that includes members of Congress, former members of the administration, current people that are serving within the administration, anyone who has relevant information.
Yeah. Listen, your answer may be similar, but I have to ask it anyways. Letters are also going out, going to be sent to social media companies. Are you able to say which ones and how expansive do you see this investigation becoming?
I really can't, but I can say that this follows a very traditional investigative path where you want to get the documents first before you bring in witnesses, so you know the right questions to ask. And we are working in a very bipartisan, indeed nonpartisan way. And we've brought on some, I think, very capable investigative staff. So we're getting well situated to get this important work done. And it's going to be one of the most important investigations I think Congress has ever undertaken.
I appreciate you talking about that. Let's turn now to Afghanistan, shall we? When you take into account what you heard at the Intel briefing today, along with the images coming out of Kabul, the volatile security situation on the ground there, the American citizens, Afghan allies who are still there and still need to be evacuated, give me your real assessment of this situation, Congressman.
Well, it's pretty dire. There are thousands and thousands of people that need to be evacuated. Americans, first and foremost, and U.S. residents, but also people that we have a moral and ethical obligation to, those who fought beside us, those who helped us to gather intelligence to save American lives, and as well as, civil society figures that we were working with to try to establish a government that would protect all of its citizens, including the rights of women and girls. And so that's a big group of people. And I'm encouraged that, we have really ramped efforts up in the last 24 to 48 hours with 11,000 people evacuated in a single day. That's pretty extraordinary number, but there are so many more yet to evacuate that we've got a lot of hard work ahead of us and under dangerous circumstances.
Listen, you're there, you get the intel briefings, you know more than we do in this, certainly some things that you can't reveal, but let's put up those images at the Kabul airport. You've been concerned about the threat at that airport. We have seen plenty of videos showing crowds of people desperate to get in. Do you think the U.S. needs to do more to beef up security, or do you think that right now they're doing what's needed to be done? How do you feel about it?
Well, I guess I would say there can never be enough security at that airport. It's just such a chaotic situation. And when you amass that number of people, people can get hurt just being in a crowd that size, but it also makes a very attractive target for our enemies. For ISIS, Khorasan, for example, would like nothing better than to attack, set off a suicide bomb in that crowd or take out one of those aircraft with a man pad. That would be obviously catastrophic, and they would love to see that kind of catastrophe. So it's a very difficult, dangerous situation. And, look, we've got the best trained military in the world, but this is a first class, first order safety, logistics nightmare, and we're going to have to use all the skills we have.
Yeah. As you say those words, as we say in our home, God forbid, let's hope that doesn't happen. what you said. But yes, it's a very real possibility. I understand that. So you also say that we should have a military presence in Afghanistan as long as it takes to get the U.S. citizens and our allies and our Afghan allies. But the Taliban say any delay to this August 31st deadline, they say it's a red line. Are you worried an extension could put even more lives in jeopardy here?
Well, I'm certainly concerned about any effort by the Taliban to go after our people after the end of the month. But I'm very mindful of the fact that there are still many tens of thousands of people that we need to get out. And getting people to that airport is very difficult. And the end of the month will be on us before we know it. And I think that we need to maintain our military presence long enough to get everyone out, certainly our own people out, but also those we have that moral obligation to help evacuate. Look, I support the withdrawal of our U.S. forces out of Afghanistan. I think the president made the right decision. We could be there another 5, 10, or 15 years and still be in the same situation in terms of the Taliban takeover. But we shouldn't leave until we get all of our people out and those that we have an obligation to help get to safety.
CNN is reporting that the U.S. is scrambling to fill an intelligence vacuum in the aftermath of Afghanistan's collapse. Are you worried that all this instability could embolden extremist groups, again, as you said, to carry out an attack? You mentioned at the airport, but carry out an attack at home or abroad, Congressman?
Well, look, when you draw down your military footprint somewhere, you lose eyes on some of the dangers that exist. But I think we have to acknowledge that right now the danger to the country is greater outside of Afghanistan in terms of a terrorist attack that may be organized against the homeland. So there are other parts of the world where Al-Qaeda has a bigger presence, where ISIS has a bigger presence. But over time, that could change in Afghanistan. We're going to have to try to keep a close watch to make sure that Al-Qaeda doesn't reconstitute itself there. And that we take action against ISIS-K and make sure that it doesn't pose a growing threat to us. That's more difficult to do when you don't have those troops on the ground. But, of course, when we did have the troops on the ground, they were targets, and we were risking American lives in that fashion, too. So not a bright line here, but I think the drawdown is the right decision. And we're just going to have to really strengthen our intelligence gathering capability from other places. Yeah.
Look, we appreciate having our leaders on to speak directly to the American people, but especially someone in a position like you and on the committees that you're on, giving our viewers the knowledge that they need this evening. Thank you so much. Please come back. We appreciate it.
Thanks. Will do.
Thank you.